The Art of Being Ruled. Wyndham Lewis. Original publication 1926. 1989 edition. Narrated by Skeptical Waves. Part 10. Socialist Theory. Chapter 4. The idea that haunts all socialist theory. The socialist impulse is omniform. There are as many systems of collectivism, reformism, syndicalism, communism, anarchism, etc., as there are days in the year. They have, however, one thing in common. Each and all they are haunted by the belief that neighboring socialist systems conceal a despot. Everywhere a tyranny is scented. Every socialist theorist spends a good part of his time prowling round his neighbor's utopia in the hope of surprising the terrible tyrant that he is certain is in hiding there, sumptuously entertained by his treacherous rival. The adept of any of the famous systems, in speaking of any one of his neighbors, will invariably whisper in your ear, "Have nothing to do with him, he is a wolf in sheep's clothing." As a matter of fact, he is in reality a born tyrant and despot, disguised as a socialist. He's out for what he can get. He would set up the most monstrous tyranny if he could. You take my tip and have nothing to do with him. And his neighbor, if you found yourself with him, would say the same thing. These people usually do each other a grave injustice, for the most famous socialist theorists have been excellent men. But it must be admitted that often the theories are less perfect than their makers. Some of them do seem peculiarly adapted for the reception of the most absolute tyrant. The fall of the ancient, European, world was decided by the question of social injustice, said Lang, which would also be the cause of our modern European disintegration. But when he described the core of the problem as the struggle against the struggle for existence, he was nearer the mark than perhaps he knew. To struggle eternally against a struggle is a circular operation. The theories of that struggle, the more organized, on both sides, they become, are bound to begin fatally to resemble each other. All warriors equipped by the same civilization and engaged eternally in a civil war, or revolution, would have a family likeness at last. The struggle against a struggle has the uncomforting sound of a war to end war. To lessen the effort and struggle for existence was, thought Lang, who was a great socialist, the aim of socialism. Sorel, who was a great socialist, the greatest socialist since Marx, thought it was the struggle alone that made existence worthwhile. The business of socialism was to make the struggle far more severe. It must screw it up to epic proportions. That was a radical difference in point of view, we must admit. It can be taken as the characteristic fissure to be discovered across all socialist theory. Is the aim of the revolution that people should become a dense mass of messieurs, a dense mass of gentlemen, living in godlike ease and plenty, nature, with its horrible struggle for existence, left far behind? If not that, what is its objective? Is it not rather that of a titanic but magnificent discomfort, all pleasure repudiated? One seems to be the optative dream of a small mammal, liable to be rudely awakened by an earthquake or the appulsion of a star, or any of those monsters in the way of forces of nature, over which he has been unable to extend his sway. The other gets body, at least, and physical importance, by merging him in the mass of his kind. He becomes generic, a class, even if only a downtrodden one, and his dreams, entirely owing to the factor of scale, have a prouder air. They puff themselves out, or are invited to by Sorel, at the thought of their irresistible size and physical importance. Sorel is indeed a sort of splenetic Ariel flying above an ocean and exhorting it to do something spectacular and Napoleonic, as an ocean should. It is never the debatable everything of Pyrrhonic idealism that he addresses, but a local, put upon, poor, relative vastness.